We're stepping out of the box today on WAVY.
Hi, welcome to WAVY. I'm Ryan Caldwell.
And I'm Andrea Farewell. Today we're featuring young women who are living for God and making an impact in the world around them.
Akiana is called a binary child prodigy because she paints and writes poetry. Have a listen as she talks about how it all got started.
When I was 4, I started having these dreams of converting my family to Christianity, but because my family was atheist. But after when I had those visions, came along that I had those visions of painting and drawing, and I started right from there, and then I started painting at the age of 7. It was visions about meeting God, and after that I started having these visions of being in heaven and meeting other people in heaven. I cannot really remember how it was heaven about. I just could remember that I met God that day, and after when I had those visions of meeting God and being in heaven, I had those visions over and over again, and I started believing in Him. My mom, she was an atheist. She never shared her beliefs with us. So I grew up in an atheist family, so I didn't know anything about God. When I started having those visions, it came about when I started knowing God, and then I converted my family to Christianity.
We have Akiana's poem, Adam and Eve, next, but I should warn you, her poetry is very deep. Have a listen.
We run through all the fields we've never dreamed of, but we haven't learned how to play. But we haven't learned how to walk. We look through all the space scopes, but we haven't learned how to talk. But we haven't learned how to see. We know what no one has ever known, but we haven't been born, but we haven't yet lived.
Wow, Ryan, I don't know if I caught all of that, but it sure is amazing to see how inspired her work is.
Yeah, well, have a listen as Akiana shares about where that inspiration comes from, getting frustrated, and the meaning behind the colors of her paintings.
The colors.
The colors.
Huh.
Yeah, after I met God, I knew that I had a gift, and I actually, when I started drawing, it was amazing. I was impressed. Well, is this me? Am I doing this work? And because I said to myself, this isn't I. This is God who's given me this gift to share with others and to help others, like with charity, and to help others with like poverty and around the world. Sometimes I'm a little frustrated when I'm doing my art, and I said, why is it me? And when I just say, I can't do it, it's impossible. When I'm really frustrated, I go away into another quiet room. I just sit there, just don't do anything with all my painting clothes. Well, when I just sit there, he said, just go on, it's okay. You could fix your mistake, everything's possible. And then when I do that, I feel much better. Well, some of the meanings of my colors is white is like the color of the truth, black is the color of suffering, red is the color of love, violet is the color of visions, and many others, like pink is the color of trust, and violet is the color of visions. Sorry, I repeat that over. And many others, like brown is the color of rest.
It sure makes you think about the purpose for your own life, doesn't it? Well, here's another poem by Akiana called By the Light.
Against the ocean waves, my senses hold the eroded canyons. On a 9-mile cliff, today I see God. From different scenes, all in sync, where inspiration's under construction, where I keep afloat the universe, where the boat never sinks the boat, where tasting sweet air and scared of heights, the footsteps explore the drop-offs. Only from the dark, cold tunnels, White diamonds come, but only by the light they are recognized. I like poetry because I love writing, and I want to do something with writing. When I first started poetry, it was like a homework for my homeschooling. So I started writing and then writing and writing, and then I said, oh, this is just a little story. Then I showed it to my mom. She's like, what? Whoa, 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 whoa. Is that you? This is you who wrote this? She couldn't even believe it. And that's the first time when I showed my mom that I had this talent to share with others, that is poetry. So I am pretty impressed today even. Well, I have like 400 poems, and my book is going to be published like this April, like next year, and it's going to be 2 books: Akiana, her art, her poetry, and her life. And another book is going to be Akiana, just her poetry. So.
Next, Akiana shares about what she would do if God asked her to quit painting, her favorite food, and what she wants to say to you.
He is the one that gave me this gift. It's his choice if he wants me to do something else. It's his choice if he wants me to stay there. So if he wants me to follow him and stop with my art, I'll do it. It's his will. My favorite food is the food that I share with others. And that food that I share with others is like healthy food, like whole wheat bread and like fruits and stuff like that. Well, I just need to tell people they need to know God more. They need to spend time with themselves to talk to God, even by themselves. They need to just go away and just have some quiet time and talk to him. That's how I do every morning, and I hear him. He tells me what to do, and they just need to hear God to have their mission completed. If some are chosen to bow down to wear the yokes, some are chosen to live in a spark. The scabs are puzzled everlastingly. Weaned honor is delivered in the midst of dark. Bowing to themselves the crownless kings, sitting in their own bent thrones, as cattle live in castles full of lying claw prints. Life becomes the play with ashes of the drones. Before the glass palaces, the sand. Before ruby swords, the fists. Before the chipped heaven, the chipped view. The nestlings in the marble nests.
News bulletin concerning Hurricane Gloria. We've just gotten the latest report in, and I don't have the map totally done. We've got where it is, but I have not put on the map coordinates of the storm yet as of this point. But it is moving due north at 20 miles an hour, and it is expected to continue this motion and accelerate its forward movement. It is following its course exactly as predicted, and is expected to hit the Hatteras Island sometime within the next couple of hours. Now, it is about 140 miles south of Hatteras Island as of this time, and we want to let you know that it still has maximum winds of 130 miles an hour, and again, it's a very, very strong hurricane. Now let's go to the latest radar picture. We've been able lately to start to pick up the eye of the storm. There it is, right there, and it has been moving north to northeastward over the past couple of hours. The brunt of it right now with some extremely, extremely heavy rain and very, very heavy wind as well. We've got north winds gusting at times to around 52 miles an hour at the airport in Norfolk, and I believe that we're starting to gust upwards of that right now. And it would appear from just looking out the window, I'm not going out there either, but it would appear from looking out the window at the direction in which the trees are swaying and the rain is moving, that our winds here in Portsmouth at our studios have switched basically to the north to northwest. It's a wrap-around situation with the hurricane. As a matter of fact, let's take the latest latest radar picture, if we could, please, and we'll have a look at that. We can see that this was as of about half an hour ago, and we've lost our phone line basically to Cape Hatteras, so we won't be able to get radar pictures for a while, but we'll keep trying. But anyway, you can see that it's a wraparound situation.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Terry Zahn.
And I'm Diana Morgan. A storm-weary Hampton Roads is still drying out tonight after a brush with Hurricane Gloria.
Diana, we are all relieved that it was just a brush with what could have been one of the worst storms of the century. A wind gust of 120 miles an hour was clocked off the coast of Cape Hatteras, but fortunately Gloria caused only some structural damage and flooding in the Outer Banks, much less than residents had expected. There was even less damage here in Hampton Roads. We're going to take a look at all the hurricane damage in the area a little bit later. But first, Don Slater joins us after a long night and a long day to explain why Gloria missed us. Don?
Thank you, Terry. Gloria missed us just by pure fate, quite frankly, because we got very, very lucky. Another 25 miles inland, and we could have had a very, very dangerous storm, or even 25 to maybe 40 miles inland. Now, earlier projections put the storm moving right across the Outer Banks, right up the Outer Banks, and over the south side of Hampton Roads. Here's the peninsula. Here's the eastern shore. Now, the maximum danger area is near the eye and to the right side of the eye. That's where all the winds converge and pull in the ocean, and that would create a very, very high storm surge through the area as this moved on up into the lower Chesapeake Bay. That was the original track of the storm. But then late last night, around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, the storm shifted out to sea across the Outer Banks and put that maximum danger area well out to sea. Now, there was an unusual shape to this storm. The maximum danger area was out here, and it was circulating counterclockwise, and it gave us a very strong west to northwesterly flow of air, and that didn't pull in all the water. It pulled in air off the land. So we got lucky. Terry? Or Diana.
Thank you very much, Don. Residents of Sandbridge and Virginia Beach were the first in Hampton Roads to receive the order to get out yesterday. And today, many of them were back to see what shape their homes are in. Most were pleased to find only minor damage. Harold Jones has lived in Sandbridge for 13 years. He told Les Smith he's glad he took precautions.
We had boarded it up yesterday and found out that other than a very couple small minor things, that there was virtually no damage to the house, either by wind or water damage. Yeah, I think we're real lucky.
A few homes suffered more extensive damage, including one on Sand Fiddler Road, where one wall of the garage was caved in. But most homes just lost a few shingles to Gloria. Portions of the Virginia Beach oceanfront look like a lumber yard this evening. More than half of the Virginia Beach Pier near 15th Street was destroyed. Built in 1950, the 780-foot pier took a beating from Hurricane Gloria. If debris wasn't lining the beach, it was floating in the ocean. Still, that potential danger was not enough to keep surfers from the big waves. According to the owner of the pier, the part that was destroyed by the storm probably won't be repaired. Hurricane Gloria was a close call with disaster for Hampton Roads, and now that it's over, the big question is, were we prepared? Barbara Sierra spent over 20
homes in the city's Willoughby Spit area lost roofing shingles and gutters. Residents here along Willoughby Spit say the effects of the storm could have been much worse. In assessing the damage, they say they've been very lucky. The Bayfront community has seen many storms come and go, and resident Janice Kiefer is glad her home is still intact.
Surprisingly enough, the damage was minimal.
James McKee is taking down protective wooden boards from his glass doors.
It was like a Christmas present. I was really expecting some damage and virtually nothing.
McKee and other residents here along the bay's edge enjoy its view, but know all too well that it comes with a price: the threat of a hurricane. In Norfolk, Ava Hurdle, The Daily News.
There were fewer people evacuated and less damage in the other Hampton Roads cities.
In Portsmouth, Hurricane Gloria caused mostly wind damage. Falling trees knocked down power lines in some sections of the city, and high winds put an end to the tourist season at Portside by blowing the roof off the marketplace. Part of Old Town was flooded this morning, but by high tide, even the deepest waters had drained. The threat of a major hurricane was very real to Peninsula residents. Thousands left low-lying areas for public shelters. In Hampton, the strong winds whipped through city streets and homes in the area. Most of the city south of Mercury Boulevard lost electrical power, and Hampton General Hospital used an emergency generator. In the end, though, flooding was minimal and storm damage was confined to fallen branches and uprooted trees.
On the eastern shore, the story today was no power. Fallen trees knocked down utility lines up and down the shore. In the town of Cape Charles, the loss of electricity also meant the loss of water because the town's lone treatment plant was out of commission. Residents spent today reducing large trees to firewood, and in the meantime, police screened persons re-entering the town because sightseers were making it difficult for authorities to clean up the mess. In this area, North Carolina's Outer Banks suffered the most severe effects of the storm. Reporter Ed Hazelwood and photographer Mike Ridge rode out the storm there. They report most residents feel lucky to have gotten away with what little damage was done.
In the early morning hours, when winds hit hurricane force on the Outer Banks, it began to look like Gloria would indeed smash the place. But the eye moving off the coast changed things for cities like Nags Head and Kitty Hawk. By 4 a.m., it became apparent most of the damage here would be caused by waters rising from Currituck Sound, not the Atlantic. They call it Soundside flooding. And this is what it looks like several hours later on the sound side of the Outer Banks after the water has gone down quite a bit. Revealed by the receding waters, trucks, cars, even this catamaran found lying against a garage. Near Jockey's Ridge, the worst damage was this auto sculpture created by the sand. Carolina power crews spent much of the day restoring electricity to 35,000 Outer Banks residents who lost power during the storm. Probably the greatest single damage came when Ace Hardware in Manio burned to the ground during the storm. It was caused by a broken electrical wire. Further south on Hatteras Island, damage was greater. In this view of Rodanthe from Chopper 10, you can see where Gloria ripped numerous trailers apart. And although these National Guard trucks can make it through flooded out Route 12, these people who want to go home to Hatteras can't.
How come we can't get down the island?
Well, right now, sir, just around this corner, the road is flooded. And as you get towards the Oregon Inlet Bridge, there's about 2.5 feet of water across the road.
To take care of that, heavy equipment is being brought in for quick clearing and repairs. On the Outer Banks of North Carolina, Ed Hazelwood, the Daily News.
Still ahead, the storm knocked down the tower of a popular radio station.
Scatter damage to homes, trees, piers, and boardwalks. In Virginia.
All through the day and into the night, Hampton roads prepared for Hurricane Gloria. And step by step, News 3 reporters and photographers were there.
One of the big concerns here is Route 12, the only road out of Hatteras.
His family and friends will have something to return to.
Ocean View is braced for a Hurricane Gloria.
Gale force winds and the high water did not hit Virginia Beach until 4 o'clock in the morning.
When it counts, News 3 is there.
Star Games premieres Saturday at 7.
Clocked at 130 miles an hour, confirmed right near Cape Hatteras with wind gusts to 120 miles an hour when the eye hit, moving north at better than 30 miles an hour, at least 30 miles north of Cape Hatteras now. Now we've got at least 4 to 6 feet of water expected in the bay areas as the storm comes up the coast, and an 8 to 12 foot storm surge wherever that hurricane does decide to make landfall. So if it does come up to the Delmarva Peninsula, just to the right of that, that would be 8 to 12 feet of water, and then you put the high tide on top of that, add it to that figure at high tide. So we're talking about a lot of danger here. Hurricane force winds getting close to the Delmarva Peninsula, gale force winds getting close to New Jersey already. Rainfall, 4 to 8 inches close to the coast. Lots of areas have had several inches of rain already. What they have not had is a major hurricane this century in the Delmarva Peninsula up through New Jersey. That's the next area to really watch out for if this hurricane does not turn a little bit. Not this century. This is still a major hurricane. It hasn't shown any signs of weakening yet, and it's been 100 years since a hurricane of that strength has hit that coastline. Not too many people were around back then. The other problem with its fast forward motion, we add the winds of the hurricane to the forward motion on the right side, 170 mile an hour effect just to the right of the eye, but we subtract the 40 mile an hour motion on the left side for a 90 mile an hour wind because we got northerly winds coming on the west side of the hurricane. So a tremendous difference as to whether the hurricane comes to the left of
It's now moving north at about 30 miles per hour, 30 to 35 miles per